So I hate to break it to you, but winter is coming.
No, no, mm-mm, mm-mm, no, 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 hell no, 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 I refuse, no, no.
It's going to get cold. It's going to get windy. And it's going to snow. So, is your house prepared for winter? Well, let's talk about that coming up next.
Jim, don't do it. Don't do it. If you value our partnership, don't do it. We've been putting it in together for 9 years. Don't do it, Jim. Do it. Jim, don't do it, Jim. Do it.
The Doctor of Disaster is a wholly owned subsidiary of Warnick and Associates Incorporated. Hello, everyone. It's the Doctor of Disaster. I'm considered a subject matter expert in public safety and public health emergency management by not one, but two different universities. So I started this series about winter safety and winter preparedness. Last week, we did one on preparing your car. Now, let's start talking about preparing your home. But before we do, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. This is the way that the YouTube algorithm operates. And that's the way eventually I'll get paid. Once again, we are looking to break 100 subscribers. We're at 98. We need 100. Please help. Help, 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 help. Okay, so let's get on to this topic of winter preparedness. You know, a lot of people just figured their house is going to be just fine for winter. And I'm actually running late on doing this, but I need to get you to look at some of the things you need to do. First and foremost, to protect your house, you need to trim any overgrown branches back from your house or your electrical wires. Why? Well, we all know that snow and ice can break branches. And if you get an ice storm and it builds up on the branches, prime example, heavy fog during freezing weather, they can break and they can damage your house or take out your electricity. So we want to cut those branches back so that we won't have any damage. Now, we also want to make sure that rain or snow drains away from the house to avoid foundation problems. So, what you want to do is make sure that there's a slope where water runs away. Uh, in my house, I actually went around and built it up. Now, this will typically, usually, unless you have access to it, cost you a little bit of money. And I strongly recommend finding someone that has good reviews and does excavating work, has a skid steer that they can move dirt around. And, you're talking probably a half day's work, but if you own a home and you don't have that slope, you could very easily ruin your foundation and have to spend even more on repairs. So, another thing you want to do is to clean and dry your patio furniture and either put them under a tarp or out in a shed or something like that. You also want to remove any hoses attached outside. Now, the reason you want to remove hoses and drain the pipe essentially is that water can freeze in that hose and it can break your fitting. If you have one of the old farm hydrants, they have a place on the bottom where it will drain the water out below the frost line. But if you've got a hose on there, it can prevent that from draining. The other thing you want to do is around your faucets, you can go to just about any hardware store. I believe even Walmart and Target sell them, but they sell these styrofoam pieces that you can hook on over your faucet, and that will help insulate it from the cold. Of course, you want to make sure all the outdoor faucets are shut off, that you drain any water in outdoor pipes, like if you have a sprinkler system or something like that. You also want to clean the leaves, the dirt, and pine needles from between the boards and decks and off your sidewalk. Now, the reason for that is it can start mold and mildew and end up damaging your deck. You also want to check out, make sure that all of your exterior lights are working well. Why? Why is this connected to winter preparedness? Well, it gets dark earlier. So if you go out and come back and the lights aren't on, you could slip on a slick spot much easier on your sidewalk. You also want to check the handrails and the stairs to make sure they're well secured. In the middle of winter, you don't want wobbly steps. I wobble well, don't I? So, also, you want to go out and you want to clean up all the tools and machinery. For me, I make sure that my mowers are in, that my tractor, my compact tractor's in. So that's all part of it. Now, on the tools, especially like the shovels and the rakes and stuff like that, it doesn't hurt to put a coat on them so they don't rust over the winter. You also want to weatherize your lawnmower by cleaning off the mud, the leaves, the grass, and the debris. You can move your snow blower and shovels to the front of the garage or someplace where they're easy to get to. And if you do have a snow blower, you need to make sure that you change the oil and replace the spark plug. You also want to check out your shovels, your snow shovels, your ice choppers, or any other material, and make sure that they don't have broken handles or cracked handles, or perhaps the ice chopper needs the blade sharpened. These are all real important things. And then you also want to make sure you have a, a supply of ice melt or sand on hand for your steps, your walkways, and the driveways. Now, when we talk about using salt or sand, we need to be real careful using salt on driveways because salt will eat up a driveway over time. So when you put the ice melt, the salt, whatever on the driveway, don't use any more than you absolutely have to. Now, let's talk about the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. First things first, if you have a fireplace, If you don't know how to do it, it's best to have a professional come out and inspect it and clean it. What they'll be looking for is that the firebox is sound, that the flue system is clean of any soot or tar or creosote, and that there aren't any cracks or voids that could cause a fire. When I was in firefighting, one of the things that we constantly ran into was people wouldn't care for their flues, and that creosote would build up on the inside, and eventually it would catch fire. And when it caught fire, it'd be blowing flames out the top of the chimney. Now, they do sell, and it may be a good thing to get, a type of flare. It looks like a flare that you can throw in to a fire that has the flue burning, and it will literally put the flames out. Now, you also want to check any fireplaces for drafts. If it's cold, even when the damper is closed, the damper may be warped, worn, or rusted. You want to consider having a professional come out and look at that and tell you what's best for your circumstance. Now, let's go to the furnace. In most instances, I would recommend that you have a professional come out and ensure that your furnace is okay. We've got to worry about carbon monoxide. We've got to worry about air quality. And quite frankly, we don't want it to fail in the middle of winter. If you have a whole house uh, humidifier, go ahead and clean it and replace the evaporator pad. If you have the old cast iron radiators, or if you have boiler fed heat, go ahead and bleed those so that water won't get trapped in there and they're less effective. We also want to check, and this is really, really, really important and something that's overlooked regularly. Check your smoke alarms, check your carbon monoxide detectors, change the batteries in them, make sure they're ready. It's just simple maintenance. We also need to remove any air conditioners from our windows if you have a window unit. Either that or cover them with the bags to prevent drafts. If you have an older thermostat, you may want to replace it with a programmable unit to save yourself money. Another thing, and I'm getting a little further than I wanted to today, but you know, the outlets a lot of times in your house will leak, and you can get those packages of foam inserts that'll block a lot of that draft. Do that for receptacles and light switches. And here's something you probably don't think of, but make sure that you reverse your fan, which blows warm air down to the floor, which will help with energy efficiency. Now, you also may want to flush your hot water tank to remove sediment. And while you're there, go ahead and check the pressure relief valve, which is the little thing with the hanging uppy on the top, and make sure that it is ready and will work should it be needed. And finally, if you're the handy guy, you want to check all of your ducts in the attic, basement, and crawl space and seal up any holes that you see. And I know I'm late getting this out, but it's really, really important that you take these steps to protect you and your family. In future videos, hopefully this week, because my teaching schedule is lightened up, I will talk about other things that we don't normally think about that's important to surviving winter. Here's a little teaser. Do you have a backup plan for heating your house if the electricity goes out? Most people don't think about this, but when the power goes out during an ice storm or a blizzard or whatever, if you can't have your forced air heater working, what are you going to do? Me, I'm not normal. I've got three backups. But start thinking about that, and there's more to come. Until next time, be safe. The Doctor of Disaster is a wholly owned subsidiary of Warnick and Associates Incorporated.